Okay, so it's another Awkard video blog from me. I figured rather than holding up records or CDs or something, I don't know, I kind of thought a little bit too much about the next entry, and I thought, well, I'll do favorite drummers, and I'll play my favorite drum break of a song, and, you know, blah, 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 and I just thought, I was overthinking it too much, so I just figured, I don't know, I'm bored right now, and these are some songs on my computer that I like. These aren't all of my favorite bands. In fact, some of my favorite bands aren't even on this playlist. These are just things I thought most people have probably heard of them. If not, you should check them out. This is the first band. This is by a band called Mew, M-E-W. I saw them initially and heard them initially for the first time live in 2009 at one of the last 9 Inch Nails shows. It was at the Palladium, 2009. I liked them because they were just initially catchy right off the bat, but I didn't like them initially. When I saw them live, I was like, oh, I mean, most of the time you go see an opening band, you go see the Misfits, and the band that opens sounds like the Misfits, not Misfits cover band, you know, but you go see, you know, it's usually how it goes. 9 Inch Nails is really cool like that because you go see 9 Inch Nails play, and you wouldn't go see a band that sounded like that. You hear a band like Autolux, you hear a band like Mew, you hear a band like Queens of the Stone Age, and stuff like that, and this was one of those bands, and a couple of songs in, I started to really get into it because I could tell that they were really into it, and they were pulling it off really well. They were really tight, and they had this visual show along with their music that really tied the music together better than just some flashy light show that it's the verse, so there's little lights, and the chorus is real bright. It was done really cool, and there was, from what I remember, there were these like cats kind of like flying around the stage with like babies' faces on them. It was weird, and it was cool, and it worked, and it was really awesome. And I like a lot of stuff these guys do because when you hear them, for example, like on this shitty phone quality that you're listening to it probably just sounds like bass drums and guitar, and then you listen to it with headphones, and you hear all these weird swirling synth parts that you didn't really know were there, and all these weird atmospheric things that they tie in, and it really seems like kind of like a fine dinner. You sit down and you're like, oh, this is chicken and potatoes with some wine, and then you drink the wine and you're like, I don't like wine, but I assume certain wines you're like, oh wow, this is whatever people say when they drink wine and like it. You know, it's like it's done very tastefully. You know, it isn't a band that just shoves 100 layers in your face, like, bam, we're bored, here's a ton of shit. It was done really well and really cool, and I feel like I've talked about it enough. This is, I didn't know this was on here, this is a playlist I just kind of made, so, this is a band called The Horrors. It's really hot, so I'm like getting sleepy and exhausted. It's like 12, almost 1 a.m. on a Saturday night, by the way. This is what I decided to do on a Saturday night. Kind of awesome guy in a band. And this is a band called The Horrors. It's spelled like horror movies. And actually the cover of this album looks like the effect that I'm using on this video, like delayed and spacey and whatever. And that's how all our songs sound too. Nothing was just simple on this album, I guess. Even the snare drum and the hi-hats, the drums still sound kind of like chorusy and kind of weird. But the music was still really catchy and really simple. And I like it a lot. I like the album. I like the band. I heard them in 2009 in California, actually, and I don't remember how, but just somebody said they were cool. I listened to them, and they were. The albums after that sucked. They put out an album actually this year, the beginning of this year. It was terrible. It was terrible. But this album was really good. This is a group called Efterklang. This is, I don't really know necessarily what kind of style I would call it. Some of their music's really weird and electronic, and then songs like this are pretty, I mean, it's kind of weird, I guess, but an album, not necessarily an album that you would put on in your car and be like, dude, you gotta check this band out, and you turn it up, because it's a song you really have to listen to with like headphones on, sitting down, maybe at night or something. I listen to this album a lot because I'm a weirdo, with headphones on, just laying down, like by my pool, or with my feet in the pool. Not many people are into that kind of stuff. Not that this is like super weird or that it's that different that I do that or anything by any means. I just mean that most people, for the most part, just kind of want to hear something that just catches on right away and is 2 minutes because they don't have the attention span to listen to anything fucking further than Lady Gaga, or they just want something that just just, you know, there isn't a fucking breakdown, so I don't want to listen to it kind of shit. And I mean, I listen to some of that stuff sometimes, it's cool, but this is the kind of music that really draws me in. It seems like it's done really, really well. Like, for example, this part, there's just all of these like whispering. I don't think you'll be able to hear, but there's whispering going back and forth, and it's kind of delayed, and it just, you can't really tell what they're whispering, and it sounds almost like mother and daughter whispering to each other, or like little kids or something. And it just has a very sad feeling to it. And I saw the video. I don't think it was an actual video that the band made, but it was all like clips from beaches and the ocean, and there were like seagulls landing, and it would zoom like real close in, and it was done so fucking well. And then when the drums come in at the one part, because it all looks like it's taken at like different beaches and at different times of the day. It's not just one thing. It's not really like a movie necessarily. And then when the drums come in, like when the song picks up, it dives underwater, and oh god, I get goosebumps every time. It's so fucking good. I hate doing this, but I kind of want to skip to the part where it kind of catches me. Like it just goes and goes, and then it just picks up from there, and just, it's so fucking good. But these guys have a really big catalog. They've done all kinds of stuff. Like I said, some of it's just kind of, most people just call it electronic, you know, it's snap of a finger, because it is a lot more accessible, some of their stuff. Some of their stuff is kind of like this. I would compare them to Massive Attack. A lot of people know about Massive Attack. They did the song in House, the show House, that like opening song. Cool stuff, weird stuff, electronic stuff, catchy stuff. Stuff, cool. I don't use very descriptive words. I think this is, I don't know, I don't think I describe things too well. But I don't care. I'm getting paid for this. Fuck you. Much different kind of band now. NoFX. I think everybody got into NoFX at one point, whether they like to admit it or not. I know a lot of people that would say, like, NoFX are posers. They're pop punk. They're fucking good. Okay, I don't care. I know a lot of my close friends don't like them, you know. In fact, any of my close friends that are watching this probably like them. To me, it was that gateway band. Like, I'm not embarrassed to admit it at all. I mean, some people, when they say that, because I got into punk rock, you know, I could say that, you know, and most people that say, you know, what got you into punk rock? Oh, you know, bands like Discharge and early Black Flag, and, you know, then I started getting into different things like Pistol Grip and, you know, The Unseen and this and that, and it's like, what got you into punk rock? I said Blink-182, and then from there I heard that people talking about Blink-182 is in punk rock, you should listen to Rancid, and then going from there and then going, you like Rancid? Rancid's just as bad as Blink-182, just as poppy, and then this wasn't too far off from the bands that most people were making fun of that were listening to real punk rock. And I just thought, I don't care what's real or fake. It's good. I like it. It's fun. It's catchy. I don't know. I liked it. And I remember 8th grade, I almost didn't get my picture submitted into the yearbook because I had my stupid spiky hair and I had my NoFX t-shirt on. And it was the black one with the bugs that made NoFX. And the bugs were like attached to the green goo. And after the lady took my picture, she's like, "Oh, what does your shirt mean?" And I was like, "Oh, it means no fucking straight edges." And I didn't really know what that meant at the time. I just knew it had the word fuck in it. I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome. This band's funny." And she's like, "Oh my god, that's terrible. I don't think you can submit that." And I'm like, "Well, it doesn't say the word fuck on it." And she's like, "What's your name?" And she like wrote my name down. And she's like, "I don't know if we're gonna be able to submit this." And I'm like, "Okay." I ended up submitting it. And I mean, come on, all shirts, like, that's not an offensive shirt at all. I mean, I know people that have had much worse shirts than that. But a cool band. I still love them. They're obviously still on my playlist. Actually, I don't remember putting this on my playlist, but they would still be on my playlist. This is still pretty good. Not anymore. I'm saying, like, this album and their new stuff sucks. But oh, I'm tired. It's hot. Why did I do this? I want ice cream. Somebody bring me ice cream. I don't care when you're watching this. Just fucking feed me. Tacos, ice cream. Something. It's a band called Fisher Spooner. They sound pretty gay, don't they? They're really electronic and catchy. And every time I hear this song, I think of a car accident that I got into. It was totally my fault. It was like 2006, no, like 2007-ish. I was driving to school, and I was listening to this album on loop, just on loop. And it was when I had the fucking tape deck and the portable CD player, and I'd hit a bump and it would skip. God damn it. Even though you had the fucking anti-skip, it would still skip. Hated it. And anyway, I was driving down Brook Park because like 71 and 90, they were all blocked or they were redoing something. So I had to go all the way down Brook Park to get to the Metro campus at school. And the highway entrance is right to the right of the road, and the light turned red, and I want to say a good 500 feet, like a good red. Like if this was an aerial view, here's the light, here's me, it was like red. And then I blew it. It was a good 3 or 4 seconds solid, where I just blatantly blew this light, and it was so red that it was green to the other side. And the semi-truck was coming off the highway and didn't even slow down because he was just going to keep going. And so the green light just fucking drilled me. And it was 4 lanes, and I got hit from the side and got like slammed into the other lane all the way to the other side. So I went from all the way over to all the other side over. And I don't even remember being that phased because this song was just blasting. Like I would just scream the lyrics to this song, and you couldn't even hear it because it was on so loud. And I saw the truck coming, and I just didn't even care. I don't think I slept the night before, and I was just like 7 a.m. Some fucking weirdo, and I just like music was on, so like nothing mattered. So it was blasting, and it hit, and I just remember like getting pissed off because the fucking scene was skipping. I was like, damn it! Oh shit! Damn it! I got no car accident. Bad. It wasn't like obviously didn't die, and but every time I hear this song, I think of that, and cool stuff. Their first album was pretty much like all electronic stuff. This stuff they try to incorporate more like guitars. Never like, not like Ministry would do, put in like heavy guitars with, like synthesizers and shit. It wasn't like industrial music or anything by any means. It was just, they'd incorporate like sometimes like clean guitars, like whatever. I didn't like it so much as I liked the just pretty stereotypical sounding electronic music they were making before that. And Yeah, I don't want to talk about that anymore. The Human Eye. This is a band that the very first time that I bought, if anyone watched my last vlog, where I would get an album because of the album artwork, this is the very first time that I did that. My friend at the time because he no longer speaks to me, we went there, we went to My Mind's Eye, and we thought, let's buy a CD that we just like the album artwork, and perhaps it will be cool. And I got an album that I thought looked cool. It was Underwater, I don't remember the name of the band. I wish I had it to show you guys. It was fucking cool. It was like this big sea creature, and it was done, it almost looked like a photo, but it had like some really trippy color to it, like some kind of strange effect on it. And it looked like this fucking massive fucking like Leviathan looking thing. And I bought that CD, and Ryan bought this CD, and we were listening to them both on the way home. I put mine in, and I said, this is terrible. And it actually ended up being a link somehow to Neurosis. I think it was just the artist for most Neurosis albums, or there was some sort of tie to Neurosis. I don't remember what it was. I didn't like it. Ryan loved it. He's like, this is great. I'm like, well, you can just have mine. And he's like, well, hopefully you like mine. This is a CD he picked that he thought the album art was cool, and I fucking loved it. I loved the music. And I actually was at Now That's Class for a show in the basement there a couple of years ago. I was drunk, like most times I'm at that place, or anyways at that place. And the band was playing in the basement. And they didn't sound anything like this. They kind of sounded like krautrock. They were a little bit weirder. They were a little noisier. But the drummer, I have an ear for drums where I can just hear. Good drummers have their own sound. Good drummers hit a certain way and do certain kind of fills that you could just hear, even if they played in the Human Eye or the other band, which again didn't sound anything like this. It sounded like that drum set and whatever. But anyways, I heard the band, and I went up to him afterwards, like, dude, great set, like, you know, I love your drumming style. You sound a lot like this drummer that's in this other band that I've been obsessed with lately. And he's like, oh, really? What band? And I was like, oh, like, they're not, like, big or anything. They're this band called The Human Eye. And maybe that's just me being too much of, like, a prick with music, where I'm like, what band? Oh, you've never heard of them. They're way, you know, they're way too weird for you to have heard of them. But, the song you just heard, I'm going to have to actually read it for the cover. Impregnate the Martian Queen was the name of that song, and the lyrics were just kind of weird for this band. The lyrics were just kind of weird. The music was awesome, catchy, and now I feel like there's this awkward silence that the music's not on. I feel like I should talk quieter. But I told him, I was like, oh, it's this band, The Human Eye. He's like, no way! He's like, I play drums in that band. I'm like, really? That's fucking awesome. I love The Human Eye. Like, and I told him how I had heard of them, and I was like, oh, yeah, I heard of you because I like the album artwork. And he's like, oh, that's cool, blah, blah, blah. So, cool guy, really cool band. That, you know, this band was really cool, and the other band he was in, I wish I remember the name, but I don't. And they were really cool, too. Circa Survive. This is a band that Jonathan actually showed me several years ago, and anytime any of us would drive around in our cars, we'd get in my car, maybe Nine Inch Nails on, or, you know, Autolux or something. We get into Jonathan's car, he'd be listening to we just called it Jonathan music. And I classify this as Jonathan music, just like emo stuff, you know, with like, just emo, I don't know, we just call it Jonathan music. And for the longest time, especially because of the singer. The singer is what to me just instantly was like jock music. And I fell in, just out of nowhere, just fell in love with these guys. All the way down to the album artwork. I'm blanking on the name. He has kind of a strange first name. But he did all of their album artwork, and he does a lot of their live visuals when they play live too. This is a band I would truly consider. They give you an earful and an eyeful when you go to see them live. They're not just up there playing music. I mean, there are some bands I do like to go see. You know, bands like Awkard, for example. You go to see them, they don't have a fucking light show. They don't have some. They just play like 1.5 minute songs, and the songs are awesome, and the music speaks for itself. And then there are other bands I like. Circus Survive. Never gotten to see them. Bands like 9 Inch Nails, you go to see them, and the music is awesome, and then the visuals make the music sound better almost because it's tied in and it's cool and really thought out stuff. And this music is very complex, but still so catchy. And the album artwork is the same. You instantly look at it, it's kind of stretched out, but you look at it, you instantly just kind of like it. It's weird enough to where you're like, that's weird, but that's fucking cool. And a lot of the other stuff, when I got Instagram, actually, he was, this artist was one of the first people that I wanted to follow that wasn't a friend. You know, like, one of the, like, first, like, 3 or 4 people that I was on the hunt for when I thought, who else uses this? Like, artists and tattoo artists and photographers? And, because this guy's stuff is fucking cool. I would love to order one of his prints and actually put it up here at the studio. That'd be really cool. Maybe I'll do that tonight. But the band's awesome too. Really fucking cool stuff. The Bad Plus. I feel like it's getting quieter. Either that or I'm just getting deafer. This is a band called The Bad Plus. They're jazz, I guess. Just most people just call them jazz. This album was really cool. It's called Prague, and it was a little different than their other albums. I don't like jazz. I know a lot of people that are in the music business, not that I'm in the music business, but people that have played music for a while, I always consider kind of just snobs that listen to jazz. Like, oh, you like Green Day? Well, I like, you know, Buddy Rich and his big bands and jazz. And not that Buddy Rich is really snob. He's like, I don't know enough about jazz to like name drop a like contemporary whatever jazz artist. Because most jazz just sounds stupid to me. It just sounds like, I don't give a fuck. Like, cool, you're really talented. I can't play that. But this stuff just seemed like, I mean, I can relate to some of the stuff that just kind of sounds off. Like if I come here, like the drums are set up right here. If I come here by myself, I can play some kind of weird, kind of complex drum stuff. But this isn't just that, it's a band playing to that, and playing the same, like, playing that, and it's just, it sounds like, how did you guys write this? Did the drummer just go kind of off, and then the piano player went to it, or, and, no, they just kind of play the stuff, they just get together, and they just, you know, the bass player starts playing something, the drummer come in, and it's like jazz jam bands, you know, and that's what, you know, jazz is supposed to be. It's just kind of off the cuff, you know, never played the same way twice. And David King, the drummer, is hands down probably my favorite drummer. I'm working on that drummer post, favorite drummers, because I want to be able to play like a video of a drummer, or like at least have a song in the background of playing. Like this kind of drum beat is so cool, or this drum sound is so cool. But David King would probably be my favorite drummer, just because, I mean, not even just listening to it, is it just kind of like complicated shit. That part is just kind of laid back, but I mean, pretty complex stuff. And what you're hearing there, he's using the ride a lot, he's using the clicks a lot, and he's doing things that most drummers don't do. It's not just, I mean, none of the stuff that he plays is necessarily mind-blowing. Like, just I could go off on a tangent here. I should probably save this for the drum blog, but to me a good drummer doesn't necessarily play something so fast that no other drummer can play it, but he plays a drum fill where you're like, I would never have thought to play that. Or he plays a drum beat where you're like, whoa, he's making clicks with the floor tom over here, and he's using the bell of this over here, and it's not necessarily hard to play. I mean, this stuff is hard to play, but it's not why it's good. It's not like, that's so complex and tricky. It's like, really tastefully done. And again, I could go off on a tangent, but I'll save it for the drum thing and just skip the next one. The Cure. I definitely remember putting this one on here because I remember wondering what the fuck Cure song should I put on here. The Cure are one of my favorite bands. Forever will be one of my favorite bands. And their albums, there's an album called Wild Mood Swings. And the album's good. There's a song, Want, on there, one of my favorite Cure songs. But I would consider that album title to be the best way to describe The Cure. Wild Mood Swings. Like, this kind of song is pretty upbeat, you know, and then you hear songs like Friday I'm in Love, and it's really upbeat. And then you hear songs like Homesick, or Pictures of You off of Disintegration. And for me personally, I'm just instantly just sucked into like a memory of like an old girlfriend or something, and like you just get like emotional like on the spot listening to certain songs by them. And there aren't many bands that can do that. I mean, there are that, for example, Disintegration, that album, if I put that album on, I'd get bummed out like instantly. And that's the main reason why I picked this song, is because this song, it reminds me of playing the Farm Project, band I played with in high school, and it was just a really catchy, kind of cool song. I think this, to be honest, I think this song, this kind of style, is what U2 wishes they could have done, whether they'll admit it or not. Catchy, and you know, but I think U2 just put too many effects and too many they just ejaculated too much. Like, oh, we're so good, we're so different, we're so whatever. I fucking hate U2. I feel like U2 kind of tried to do this, like catchy pianos and layers and catchy. I don't know what I'm explaining here. It's late. It's like 1 in the morning. It's not that late. I think I got bit. Scratching my leg. I love this song, and I love this band a lot. Yeah. Year of the Rabbit. The last vlog that I did, I talked about a band called Failure, and this was Ken Andrews, the singer from Failure, singer and guitar player, and switched back forth to bass and but there were many things that came of Failure. Autolux, there's a band called On. There were a few things here and there from that. Year of the Rabbit was the one and only thing. Year of the Rabbit was the one and only thing, and only, actually, just a few songs on this album were the songs that I thought were fucking good, were just awesome. And to me, it was kind of like the Lennon and Paul McCartney split after the Beatles, where Paul McCartney stuff was a little bit more like cheesy and catchy, and Lennon stuff was a little bit more, you know, different, a little bit singer-songwriter-ish. You know, I always liked Lennon more than McCartney, and obviously these guys are on a different level. But when Ken Andrews and am I even saying the fucking name right? I'm so out of it. Ken Andrews and Greg Edwards. Yeah. Ken Andrews and Greg Edwards, when they went their own ways, because they kind of went their own ways at first, and it just never really seemed like it did anything for me. Then Ken Andrews did this, and it was awesome. And that was it. Everything else he did sucked. I would consider him, like I said, like he'd be like the Paul McCartney, where it was like, Paul McCartney did some kind of cool stuff, but for the most part, fuck Paul McCartney. Lennon was where it was at. And then Greg Edwards, when he went and did Autolux, and he did other things, it was like, fuck yeah, like Greg Edwards all the way. But this song was really cool, and this album's cool. And actually, the story behind this, I got this in the dollar bin at the exchange when I was still in maybe junior high at most. Because I remember it was Jamal Batebit and I rode our bikes there from his house. And he picked it out because nowadays I wear like a keychain thing. I used to always wear this rabbit's tail. He's like, dude, it's like a rabbit's tail. And I bought it, and rabbit's foot, rabbit's tail, whatever. And I bought it because I was like, oh yeah, like it's gonna be so cool. It's like it looked just like mine, minus this rabbit thing up there. And I hated it. I hated the music. And then I started getting really into Autolux and started like kind of going back from there and found out about Failure and found out about all the bands that were incorporated, you know, before and after. And I heard about them and I was like, holy shit, that's that fucking dollar CD. And got back into it again, liked it. And that's that. Depeche Mode. This one has to be played loud because I want you fuckers to hear this. I feel like if this wasn't here and I was just playing this, there's no way you would guarantee like that. You would know that this is Depeche Mode. It's so dark and mean sounding. And for me personally, I could go off on a tangent. The difference between heavy music and mean music. I think most people think heavy music, you think of like 7 full stacks of Marshalls, and you think of like Metallica or like Slayer. And those bands are heavy, yeah, but I wouldn't consider, I don't know, heavy music to me is something that just sounds like loud and just pissed off, like just heavy, like when I first heard Lightning Bolt, I was like, that's fucking heavy. Like it just sounded just like weird and just heavy and just, you could just tell them when they were writing it in the room, everyone in the room was deaf, like shit like that. And this to me, it's a good mix of like scary, mean, and just like psychotic. This whole album, it just has this like dark vibe to it where it just seems like they wrote it when they were going through something fucking like bad. And I don't mean like you hear Disintegration by The Cure and it sounds like, oh, he must have been sad, he was missing his wife, or he just got done. This was like, dude, the guys at Depeche Mode are psychos. And they don't say anything weird, you know, it's not like, they don't say anything fucked up lyrically. The music just sounds like dark, especially, I hate skipping forward, but I'm gonna skip. This part here. Actually, Brandon Mullen showed me this, and I was like, oh, Depeche Mode, I love Depeche Mode. Violator, you think of like synths and cheesy stuff. And he's like, no, man. Playing the Angel, and especially this part when he came in, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, just... I showed anybody that didn't know that didn't really know Depeche Mode's catalog, that you would go, oh, that's Depeche Mode. You think Depeche Mode, you think like, you know, they're happy shit, you think, but this album is fucking awesome. Like, all these, like, weird noises and shit, like, fucking cool. Really, really recommend this stuff. I don't know how many times I pull up to a light, especially leaving here at like, you know, whatever hour, driving home and like my windows are down in summer and I have this just blasting and people looking over like, like, weirdo. And, I love it. It's so good. That's fucking crazy. I didn't know this was going to be on the playlist. This is my band from high school, the Bomb Project, that I was talking about a couple minutes ago. This was me and my best friends playing music. We hang out just about every day. In school, out of school, and on weekends we'd spend the night at each other's houses, walk around Parma, doing weird shit, taking pictures. Like, Mike and I actually found, there's a picture of a possum that we found dead in the road. And we just like got down and just like thumbs up and like took a picture with it and just stupid weird shit that, you know, like inside jokes that were like barely even funny to us. And anytime I hear this band, or anytime I hear bands like The Replacements, Billy Bragg, The Clash, Paul Westerberg of The Replacements, his solo stuff, Joe Strummer's solo stuff, I immediately think of just me, Miles, Mike, and Liam just sitting around in my parents' basement or Miles' dad's basement playing just for hours, just playing like London Calling pretty much all the way through, and Pixies and all the stuff that we played, and it was so fun. It was so fun. It was fucking cool, and we were like 16 when this came out, 15 or 16. We never got big, obviously, but we played a show with Marcy Playground, that song Sex and Candy. We played a show with them in Bowling Green. We played out a couple times a month, every month for a couple of years, and first band that I actually like played out with. It wasn't like technical shit by any means, but it was pretty cool. We were 16, and really, really fun. And I think I'm gonna actually finish as the song finishes, which is kind of cool. To end. Oh, fuck. I don't even know if they own songs. That's awesome though. This isn't even the album cover. This is I took a picture of off my phone. You can see like the flash of it. This is Saul Williams, the album Niggy Tardust. I could actually kind of go off on a few tangents here. I'll stick to first Saul Williams, what he was. He's spoken word poet, writer, hip hop artist. I don't really necessarily know which one I would consider him to be most of. Philosopher, he was an actor for a little bit. Really, really, really fucking talented guy, and really, really fucking nice guy. I spoke to him on several occasions when I lived in California, just kind of running into him at restaurants. I ran into him at Guitar Center a couple times. When the first day at Guitar Center in California, they told me, you're going to see all kinds of people come through. You see actors, actresses, producers, musicians, obviously. I saw everyone from like Ja Rule to the guys in Motley Crue to Danny Carey of Tool, Eve, remember Eve from the 90s? One of the guys in Blink-182, stuff like that. But as they were telling me, they're like, oh, like Hillary Duff, and God, I can't think of like. They're like, oh, like the guys in Motley Crue come through, and like the guy from Leonard Skinner came in once, and like, you know, like not Jimmy Page, that'd be fucking awesome to see Jimmy Page. They're naming names that I didn't care about. They're like, oh yeah, like blah 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 will come through, and I thought, you know, I'm not gonna really care. I'm not gonna be starstruck because they're not stars to me. Stars to me are somebody that's done something for me creatively or inspiration-wise. While we're having this conversation at the front, Saul Williams walks up, and I'm like, he was just super casual, just like, hey, how you doing? And I was checking him out, like, not checking him out, checking him out, like, stamping his receipt and whatever, going through everything. And I was like, I was listening to your album on the walk here, and I was reading your book last night before I went to bed, like, you were a huge inspiration. And he looked right at me, and he was just like, thank you so much, man, it means a lot, like, thanks, man, like, you know, talk for a minute, and he's just like, it's been great lately, like, I've been really inspired, and there's a lot of cool, like, great opportunities for me lately, and, you know, I'm trying to make the best of it, thanks a lot, man, and, like, he wasn't just like, oh, thanks, man, yeah, I really liked how the album sounded, and yeah, I sold a lot of copies of that book. He was so cool and so nice, he looked me right in the eyes and was so nice about it, and he remembered me. I saw him walking home a couple of days later, eating in a restaurant, and I had my headphones on, and I was walking past, and I saw him, I did a double look, and he like smiled and like gave a little wave, and I just thought, that's so fucking cool, and he wasn't just like, oh god, there's that kid that likes me, like, ugh. He was so fucking cool and so nice. And this song was a U2 song. This is my, like I said, I could go off on tangents. Him musically and creatively, seeing and meeting him a couple times, how much I fucking hate U2. This is a U2 cover, and Trent Reznor he produced this album. He played all the instruments, and he made this song sound awesome, I think. Like, the guitars were just fucking, like big, like, buzzing guitars, like, buzzy, kind of like swarms of bees kind of sounding guitars that U2 just fucking sucks at doing, where they had their own dissonant ambient kind of sound. It was like, eh. And then you hear a song when it's done by someone else sometimes and they're like, that's how it should have been fucking done. This other version sucks. And I love this version. So, speaking of Trent Reznor, this is the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo soundtrack. And this is Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, his producer. I actually met Atticus Ross. Not met. I try to say these things like correctly. When I met Saul Williams, I met him, shook his hand and talked to him, had a conversation with him and stuff. I shook hands with Atticus Ross once at a 9 Inch Nails show in 2006. I was obsessed with 9 Inch Nails, and I was obsessed with this when I was obsessed with going, I was going to go to recording school, and what's the difference between a producer and somebody who just records a band, and what is a sound engineer versus, you know, like, I didn't know any of those, like, when you look over at the back of the CD and it says, you know, engineered by, you know, blah blah blah, and produced by blah blah blah, mixed by blah blah blah, mastered by, I didn't know what any of that stuff was, and I knew that producer was always Atticus Ross, and I started to understand that producer for Trent Reznor in this case was somebody who kind of helped the creative process, whether it was, hey, try this bass line, or rather than playing it at this speed, play it at this speed, or, you know, someone's playing the guitar part, he's down plugging in pedals and trying different things, and less distortion, make that fuzzier. What if you added, really gave Trent Reznor that, you know, his sound. It was Atticus Ross, and so I saw him at one of the 9 Inch Nails shows, and he was doing, he wasn't doing the live sound, but he was doing something behind, I want to say probably just, maybe he was just behind the sound booth, I don't know, he was behind the booth there, and the show was over, and everyone was already leaving, and like, I was sticking around, because I was like, I'm going to meet one of them, or whatever. The band wasn't there, I was, you know, just kind of wandering around still, and Atticus Ross was walking by, and I was like, Atticus Ross? And he's like, yes. I can't do a an English accent. And I was like, hey, like, I loved 12 Rounds, which is a thing he did before this, and I'm really thankful that you're working with Trent. Like, I love the sounds that you produce. He's like, oh, thanks. And then he just kind of went his way, and I went my other way. And then it kind of seemed like after that, he kind of started servicing more. Produced a Korn album and became more known in the 9 Inch Nails world rather than just behind the scenes on an album cover. He started doing like live sets where he would be in the background, and then obviously did this, and 9 Inch Nails fans started knowing Atticus Ross's face and his name and seeing him play stuff. And I know it sounds kind of weird, but I want to say that I kind of had a little help in that, because I feel a lot of the behind the scenes people in music, especially producers, I mean, producing it, especially nowadays. Half the bands go into a studio and they just go, I don't know, we want to sound like this, and they play, and the producer's like, if you want to sound like this, you have to not do, you know, the producer just gets shit out in the field, and rather than getting the money that they deserve, or the name that they deserve, it was cool to see a producer really get the, like, facial recognition that, you know, and I don't know, I want to say that I kind of made that guy's night, because I don't think that he was necessarily, he wasn't the rock star on stage playing the guitar, he wasn't the Trent Reznor, but to me he was just as fucking cool, because he was, you know, the one giving him the sound, you know? So, and this album was really cool. Soundtrack to that movie, I listen to this when I paint. I put headphones on, and it's something that I can just listen to, and I feel like I'm just always working. And that's something that really takes a lot, because most instrumental like soundtrack stuff I listen to, I just kind of zone out. When I have that on, for example, I just blab that whole song, and I feel really inspired. I feel like I talk a little faster. I feel like I draw a little more intricate, and I don't know, something about that album just really inspires me when I listen to it. This is a band called Russian Circles. I want to say Jonathan showed me this band too. Oh, no, my friend Anna told me about this band, and I showed Jonathan, because I went and saw Anna's band. I don't think she's watching this, but if she is, she was at the time, which I'm assuming she's 10 times better now, a phenomenal guitar player. She was the first band that I saw play with finger picking, or like pressing. I'm so tired and hot, I'm like losing my mind here. Like finger tapping like this, like, and it was a fucking. And this band was, she told me, that's fucking phenomenal. Like, that's so awesome that you do that. Like, that music's so great because it was so catchy and kind of like weird. Not weird really, but and then it came in with like a heavy guitar and like. And the drummer was one of my favorite drummers for the longest time because he plays stuff that I've never thought to play, which is again why I said I like most drummers. But when I saw them live, the drummer plays verbatim the exact same thing that's on the record. And a lot of people like that. A lot of people are like, well, what's wrong with that? Because the whole point to me to playing something really creative is that you thought it was cool, and much like, say, for example, David Bowie, where he's like, wow, this album was really different, really cool. The next album's going to be really different and cool too, in a totally different way, because different is just that. Like, there's nothing alternative about a band that's been doing the same thing for 5 years. There's nothing creative or cool about a drummer that plays the same drum beat night after night after night on a tour, and and there's nothing creative about that. It was creative and cool that you wrote it to begin with, but if you really wanted to blow my mind, you play cool shit like this, and then play it live and play it totally different, and then, like, that's to me what blows my mind. It's like just non-stop creativity, not just creativity once, and we're like, ooh, glad I finally did that, let's keep doing it, and not stop. Like, but, really, really awesome band nonetheless. A band that really takes, heavy and intricate, and kind of, meshes it really well, really creative. And that's it. I'm actually kind of glad that that's it because I'm tired and you probably are too.